Nigeria spends over $760 million annually on a fund that nobody can audit. And since the inception of that fund, insecurity has progressively gotten worse. Now, let's do a quick thought experiment. Let's imagine there's an hospital. Let's say that hospital receives a particular amount of money as support from the government, say around $56 million per year. But there's a catch. The funding only comes as long as your ward is full and there are patients to treat in the hospital. The moment you are able to cure the sickness, the funding stops and the hospital closes down. Think about what the incentive structure is in this analogy. Then hold that thought. Let's make it a little bit more personal. Let's assume you are a student and your parents give you a certain allowance every month, but they control how that money gets spent and what it gets spent on. But then, because they understand you're in school and emergencies happen, they give you a card, a black card. There's no limit. You have access to about, say, $56 million every month, and they guarantee you that they are not going to ask what you spend it on. It's just for emergencies. Be honest, what will you do with that card? Now, your answer to that question is probably what Nigeria has been doing since 1999. Security votes is the part of the national budget that is set aside to tackle security emergencies around the country. So by design, they are very, very accessible, they are immune to auditing, and they are not transparent. Now, on paper, it makes sense that there is a particular amount of money that is set aside for security emergencies that doesn't need 100 signatories before it gets approved. So let's say, for instance, there's a security emergency in Sokoto State. There should be a pool of funds that is available that can be used to fund security operations to, say, maybe retrieve people that were kidnapped. That makes sense. That's not the problem with security votes. The problem is the same problem that comes with the emergency black card that you were given in the second analogy, where nobody is asking any questions and nobody knows exactly how this money is being spent. And the money is estimated annually to be about $670 million, which equates to roughly around $56 million per month. Because it depends on the existence of insecurity in Nigeria to be justified, then the more insecurity there is in Nigeria, the more it makes sense that we dedicate more money to fight insecurity in Nigeria. Which means since the inception of security votes, every year, the worse security becomes in Nigeria, the higher the security votes become. And this is not just logic, by the way. This is what has actually been happening. At some point, the amount of items that was tagged security votes in our national expenditure went from 30 items to over 190 in just 2 years. Let's think about what happened between 2007 and 2015. The Dasuki Gate scandal that was estimated to be around $2.1 billion. This money was set aside around the height of the Boko Haram insurgency in Nigeria to fight insecurity. It was set aside to procure 12 helicopters, 4 fighter jets, and other weapons and machineries to fight the insurgency in Nigeria. And none of these things happened, which means the money was straight up stolen from the system. And then we would later find out that that money was actually used to fund the presidential re-election. Now, the worst part was the soldiers that were supposed to use this equipment to go fight the insurgency were still sent out to fight the insurgency anyways. And for every soldier that decided that they were not going to go fight the insurgency because they didn't have the tools and the weapons to do that, some of them were court-martialed. And for those who decided to go and eventually face the insurgency with limited machineries and equipment, a lot of them died. So much so that a presidential advisor literally said that thousands of needless Nigerian deaths would have been avoided if that money was used for what it was intended. Now, this takes us back to the system of security votes, because by nature, there's no how you would know if this money was used for what it was intended, because by nature, this money is not transparent, it can't be audited. So basically, what you have is the security system of a whole country is left to the morality and ethics of whoever it is that is in charge of that money. Now, guess who is in charge of that money? The office of the president and the governors. Every state governor receives a particular portion of the security votes, and then they decide how it gets spent. Now, currently as it is, Nigeria sits as the 4th most terrorized country in the world, We have over 23,000 people missing already. And the worse this gets, the higher the allocation of security votes, the larger the pool of money for the government to spend on securing the nation. So why exactly does the security vote system in Nigeria incentivize? What does it reward? It rewards manageable insecurity. You don't want absolute chaos where they have to declare a state of emergency. But at the same time, you don't want peace either. Because when you have chaos, then what's the point of all the money that you've gathered? At the same time, once you have peace, then the fund has no reason to exist again. Nigeria is arguably the only country in the world that tackles insecurity like this. It's weird. Now, currently as it is, here's a list of people that would benefit directly or indirectly from the security vote systems we have in Nigeria. This is not an accusation of corruption. This is just the people and the positions that the current system rewards. You take a look at this and then it starts to make sense why people will spend a shit-ton of money to win primaries, to just get into any political position, because they know for sure, besides your own personal agenda or what you plan to do, there is a guaranteed pool of money for you to dip your hand into that is going to be unaudited, unsanctioned. It is called security votes. Is there a solution to this problem, you might ask? Absolutely, and it's not even a difficult solution at all. The main problem of the security vote system is the fact that it is not transparent and it is unauditable. So the solution is audits, transparency, legislation, and eventually phase out the security vote. This is the exact same solution that Transparency International proposed in 2018. And that same year, the amount of items tagged security vote in our national budget almost doubled. Why is that? It's because the exact same people that are meant to solve the problem are the people benefiting from the problem. Their kids are not being kidnapped. Their security is not being threatened. They are good. And here's the part that bothers me the most, and I want you to sit with. It's the 2027 election. Whosoever wins, irrespective of their race, their creed, their agenda on paper, as long as they are not talking about the security vote systems and what they plan to do with it, they are definitely going to benefit from it. Whether it is your imam or your pastor or even you become the president of Nigeria tomorrow, you have access to an unaudited pool of money that you can't always do anything you like with. I think that's a problem. I don't necessarily think these people are bad. I think they operate in a system that incentivizes the wrong outcomes. In our particular situation, that outcome appears to be insecurity. And as long as this system exists, it is almost guaranteed that insecurity in some form will exist. Because remember, the hospital doesn't really care who becomes the doctor. Say Anjima.